and welcome to Arasea's workshop. This is the room where I do all my cosplay related crafting in, and today I'm going to show you how you can create your own pattern for something that fits your body and your size very well. So maybe you know the struggle. You have to make a design that is quite complicated and has seams where they're normally not on something like that, and you won't find a pattern in a store or on the internet that looks exactly like the thing you're aiming for. Or maybe you made your own design of an armor piece, and of course you find patterns on tutorials, but they're not exactly how you want them to be because it's your own design. So there's one method where you can make the perfect measurements for you without any measuring tape or without any construction. So this is absolutely perfect for me because everything that has to do with math I screw up. So now I'm going to show you a method where you only need this kind of foil, tape, a Sharpie, scissors, and paper where you can trace your finished pattern on. So maybe you have already guessed what this is all about. This is the old wrapping you up in foil and then in tape and trace the pattern with Sharpie on method. And you say, what's new about that? Well, you're right, nothing. But most of the time it's recommended to do it with two people. So one can stand and the other one wraps you up. But since I'm forever alone and I don't have any cosplay friends, no kidding. But since I live a bit away from my cosplay friends and it's very hard for me to meet just up with them and say, hey, come over, I need you to trace my pattern. I'm used to do this on my own. So if you want to know how to do this wrapping method perfectly for you on your own with no help needed, then stay tuned and watch the following video.
Now first of all, take your foil and cut a piece off and wrap yourself in it. Try to cover every area you want to make a pattern for, because when you use the tape you don't want to get that on your skin or on your clothes. Then take a larger stripe of tape to make something like a waistband or a belt to prevent everything from slipping around. Afterwards you can try to cover everything with smaller stripes, because smaller pieces of tape are much easier to handle. When working alone, I used to do only half a pattern, so I decided to take my left side and tape only the left part of my upper body. And of course it's much easier to tape the front than the back, but that's no problem. We are going to fix that later. So just go on and put stripes of tape on everywhere on the one side you need to make the pattern for. If it's not fitting quite right and a bit bumpy, you can always pull it together and tape again, make more layers of tape until you're satisfied. And it's also very important that you reach the front, middle and the middle of your back. So you really will have half a pattern and not just 3/4 of a half. Now my front is done so far and I'm moving on to my back, and now it gets tricky because you can't reach your back as well as you can reach your front. So what I usually do is I try to outline what I'm going to have in the end. So just make sure you reach the middle of your back, you add the strap on your shoulder, you add the bottom line, you add pieces where your armhole will be, and that you connect all those straps so it won't be wobbly. And that's all you need for the back. So you see, that's actually something you can achieve on your own without being very athletic or being able to bend your arm behind your back very far. And that's it for the taping part. Now get a Sharpie and a reference picture and start tracing the outlines of your pattern on the tape. Here I make the line for the front middle, where the front half of my pattern ends. Now once I'm done in the front, I can't trace that on my back as well, so I just try to find where my spine is and mark the middle of my back. And then only trace as far as I can reach around my armhole and where the strap will be. Then I start lining where I'm going to cut all the pieces, so where I will have to sew the thing together. And then get your scissor and cut yourself free! And so now this is what we get, and as you can see the back is really bumpy. I didn't get every part of it, and you can fix that now, because this tape, a very strong tape, still has this three-dimensional form to it. So it still already looks like a piece of armor, and you can fix that up and then trace the back seams on. And so patching it up afterwards, while it's still kind of three-dimensional, that's the big secret of doing it on your own. Doing this method on your own. And it works. It actually really works. For me, it always fits. Now I trace on the lines for the back, and I retrace the lines for the front, and it's still three-dimensional. I still know the shape and where I work. And then when I'm done, I start cutting out the pieces very neatly along my just traced on lines. And of course, for easier handling, I'm going to cut away all the excess foil inside. And as you can see, I really screwed up with the middle back, so I just add one piece of tape to it and make a nice and clean edge on the back. And then I move on to cut all the single pieces for the pattern. Always make sure that they stretch out very flat when you cut them. If they don't, you may need to recut them or to make some extra cuts to it. So this is what I mean with extra cuts. As you can see, it's still bumpy in the breast area, and you can't just pull it flat, because then you will lack of space when you try to wear it. So I have to make a little cut there, and I will have to make this with the fabric as well later. Now I'm going to trace it on paper, so I will have neat and nice pattern pieces to work on later. Make sure to number your pieces so you won't get confused with them later. And now here's an extra tip. If you went through that torture and all that trouble to wrap yourself up once, you will want to make the most of it. So I decided to tape the front piece back together and make another set of pattern pieces. Because for another costume I need a corset that is a bit longer in the front and that has different angles of seams on the side, so I try to reuse this thing. So if you, for example, just made a corset pattern and need to make a breastplate pattern or something else you can use this for, be sure not to throw everything away, but tape it back together and reuse that thing. Because even though it's easy to make this on your own, it takes time, and time is money, you know that. We're cosplayers, we all know that.
Alright, now after tracing it on, I just cut it out, and to check out if everything makes sense and to check if you've done everything right, I recommend take a bit of masking tape. That goes very easy with paper. You can peel it off later without destroying your newly made pattern. And then loosely tape it together like that. And then you can check if the pattern, the form, if it fits. So you can see if you've measured everything correctly, if you cut out everything correctly. And as you can see, the side seam, if I put it on my side, the front seam in the middle, and the back seam is in the middle of my back as well. And this looks perfect. This is exactly how I wanted it to be. Of course, the paper makes wrinkles down here. That's not going to happen with fabric. And it's not going to happen if you make an armor piece, because you can heat it up and smooth that out. And with your fabric, it will, well, it will be pulled on the other side, because you don't have just half a corset. You'll have a full corset. This is just one side, the side we made, and you double it up by drawing it onto your fabric or onto your material. Yes, that's all. As you could see, I made from the same tape thingy, I made another set of pattern pieces for a different corset, and it's done in half an hour. So I hope you enjoyed it. The method of how to do it on your own in half an hour without anyone helping you. And see you next time, I hope. Bye!